Hello everybody and welcome to another One Piece review. This time we're covering manga chapter 1113. And in this chapter, Oda decides to reveal a little bit of the truth as told by Vegapunk. Now, obviously there's gotta be more to it as far as like the world sinking into the ocean. And some could say this could be a teaser as what's to come heading into the final arc. I don't know, but we'll get into that. So the tension and the danger continues to rise as we enter the climax of this arc, as you would expect. And I gotta say, I love the color spread, and this may be one of the most interesting color spreads we've gotten in a while, just because you can make theories for days about this, because there's so much you can draw your conclusions from this. We got we got the other Straw Hats as chess pieces as Robin's playing. It's interesting to notice the positions of each of the Straw Hats. No, it should be no secret who the king and queen is. Obviously, Nami's in the throne with the crown, so obviously representing the queen. And if you look at Luffy's position, and him in gear 5th, if you see the steam and the chess piece it detaches from, it clearly says king, if that wasn't obvious enough. So that's the king and queen. It looks like Usopp and Brook are the bishops, just because of what they're wearing. Jinbei and Frankie look to be the rooks, which makes sense. And Sanji and Zoro are the knights, which also makes sense. And there are some messages in the background. It's kind of hard to tell what each of them says. Like, you got a sign in the background which says, when you. But if you look, Zoro's armor is literally shielding the rest of the message. So, pun intended, by the way. It's the same thing with Frankie and Sanji. There's another message behind them, but obviously that's been blocked too. So they're the knights, makes sense. So that would definitely make Chopper the pawns at this point. There's several of them, so that would make sense. So like I said, there's so much you can pick apart from this, but it is also to note the caption on this color spread reads, "It's a cover request by a man who likes Yamato." So this guy clearly has good taste. We get into this chapter, and immediately the tease of the chapter is pretty much like, with the minute left, and in this chapter we have like 30 seconds as it starts off before the eventual reveal. The truth to the entire world is spilled, and what's really cool is like you got the rest of the world surveying this. So that was a good thing that Oda kind of reminded us, even though I said it in the last review. So it starts off with Mars with the visual transponder snail, and they keep teasing the hell out of this moment with him like stepping on the transponder snail. And the more that Oda teased it, you knew it was obviously going to be a fake out. I mean, that was just obvious even coming into this chapter. So Oda is playing the message sent by Vegapunk to the rest of the entire world. We actually get to see what's going on elsewhere. And certain villages, certain areas we didn't get to see the last time this happened, so that was actually really cool. So we go to Syrup Village where we see Kaya like watching in here, so that's actually really cool. We also get Twin Cape, which I thought was one of the most interesting areas that Oda decided to highlight. So Twin Cape, we got Crocus and we got Laboon in the background, along with the marine. In one other panel, we got the Marines listening in, but that's not going to do much of anything. And we also get the futuristic island of Baltimore in Vegapunk's hometown. So it's also the place that Frankie ended up. So I think that's kind of important to note as well. We also get the Birdie Kingdom where Chopper studied. Now, I find it cool that Oda decided to highlight that fact as far as leading into an interpretation, because we clearly see one of the members of that tribe is wearing the eye symbol. Now, the last time we saw this, I pointed that out. Before, during the time skip, it didn't mean a whole lot, but now it clearly does, considering what we saw on Wano and what we know about pudding. Whether or not that's connected to pudding or not, I don't know. A lot of people seem to think that eye symbol is related to the Three-Eyed Tribe. I don't know. Or whether or not they're descendants of the Three-Eyed Tribe, I also don't know. But Oda is clearly seeing one of the members on the shoulder yet again with an eye symbol. The same eye symbol we saw in Wano, so I don't think that's a coincidence. Then we go to, which is interesting here, we go to Full Lead Island, BB's territory. So I don't know if Blackbeard has returned after his battle with Law. I don't know, because technically speaking, wasn't the Heart Pirates targeting BB's ship? They highlighted that in the anime, so I don't know. but considering Van Ogre's ability, I don't think that's too much of a problem. But I just find that's kind of interesting. Then we go elsewhere before we go to other places as well before we head back to Egghead Island as the message is still continuing. And what's interesting, Mars finally crushes the transponder snail, but it's just a case covering a normal transponder snail. So it's obviously the fake out is there, like as if we didn't know that was obvious enough. So Mars realizes this and he's like, damn it, because the message is still playing and they screwed up. So even if York was like intentionally helping them out, technically speaking, it didn't work out. So not even York knows exactly where the actual transponder snail is. And the fact that she specifically stated that it looks like a triangle, and even that wasn't the right one. So it was just a fake out. So Vegapunk had certain things mapped out. So like I said, it makes no sense to tease this message if it was just going to be cut short by one of the Gorosei just stepping on the transponder snail. That was so anticlimactic, considering the fact you want to tease the fact that Vegapunk is done for. So Mars tries to get in contact with the other Gorosei that's currently on the prowl, and he's like, I'm sorry, I could. He duped us, so the message is still playing, so there's no stopping the broadcast. So then they finally realize this won't be a repeat of Clover. He means to finish what O'Hara started. So, and this is kind of what teases what happens later on in this chapter. Each of them get like a concerned expression, including Saturn. Sanji is like, "Did you hear that? It was a sweet girl crying out." So, and it's interesting that Sanji thinks it's Bonnie because he's running to that location right now. So, obviously with his observation hockey, he heads in that direction. By the way, the speed of Sanji in this scene, considering what Nashjora is right in front of Bonnie and Frankie, about to attack. Now, it's cool that Frankie's shielding Bonnie, but Sanji comes in and is like, no, I'm going to be the one to protect Bonnie. He manages to land a kick on Nashjora, but he quickly recovers. But that's shout out to Sanji, and it's maybe his speed, because I don't know I said this before, I don't know what's going on with the Gorosei's like observation hockey, if in fact they have it at all. We've seen this with Saturn, like there's been certain instances where he's displayed that maybe he doesn't have observation hockey. It's either that or his Zoan form is overtaking his rationality, and this is something I brought up last chapter when we saw this with Mars, and he attacked without thinking, but then he realizes, oh, this is just a room where he recorded the message, but yet he's not here. But he already knew that, but yet he still attacked. So maybe it's the same thing with Nashjora. Maybe in these forms they can't use observation hockey. I don't know. But they clearly have either armament hockey or he has a black blade. We don't know. Because the sword immediately is the first thing you see. And the design does kind of remind me of Emma. I'm not going to lie. And this may be the first instance where we've seen the sword. So, important to note, Sanji does land a hit, but the giants interfere after Sanji attacks. Like I said, Nashjora recovers and he bites on Sanji. I also like the fact that Bonnie's concerned, but that's not too much of a problem considering the exoskeleton that Sanji has and has abused already in this arc. But while this is going on, the message is still playing on. Then Omio, one of the giants from Enies lobby, grabs a hold of Nashjora and they're like, hold him down. Atlas catches Stella, Vegapunk, who's critically wounded right now. I also like the fact that Bonnie, I don't know if this is what triggered Bonnie to attack, but Bonnie goes in with Distorted Future. Now, the interesting thing she says as she's about to attack Nashjora is like, give me a giant-ish future. Bro, I don't know what more needs to be said. Like, if this isn't another indication of Bonnie tagging along with the Strats, going to Elbaf, I don't know what else to tell you. I don't know what's going to happen with Kuma, and who's conveniently been absent. Now, he did get taken to the ship by the Giants, but I don't think Kuma is done just yet. Like, he may have one final role to play, but it's cool that Bonnie's trying to attack Nashjora while the Giants are holding him down. Whether or not it's going to do anything, I don't know. But there's also a point in the last chapter where Nashjora hyped up Bonnie's power, saying it has the ability to destroy a country. You're not going to hype that up if it's not going to come to effect at some point. And given the reveal at the end of this chapter, Maybe that has something to do with it. I don't know. So we go to Sabali Archipelago. We go all over the place to like where this message is still continuing, and they find out that he's already dead. He's already been executed because Vegapunk in the message. So this message will be programmed to broadcast the second my heart stops. I believe that I will soon be executed for my transgressions. So again, implementing the point that Vegapunk is going to die, even though he has stated himself he wants to share his knowledge with the rest of the world. I also thought what was most interesting in this scene is we actually get to see Judge and Caesar Clown finally seeing what's going on, and Caesar Clown is like crap because he's like, oh, you can't just die, we just teamed up so we can surpass you. So that was actually really cool. I wonder where Judge and Caesar Clown are at, because we see the castle, but we know the snail ships can travel. So where are they at right now? Also see Morgan's news, and he's freaking out because his fake news is about to be exposed because it can't be. He was all over the newspapers just this morning. He said he's being held by the Straw Hats, being held hostage. So that right there is being exposed because Morgan's News tried to provide fake news to like provide clicks. That's just to take on the real world and how that operates. And he also says, don't assume that the ones who strike me down, regardless of who they seem to be, are who's in the right and who's in the wrong. So it seems like they're like, say, do not blame either the Gorosei, the Straw Hats, or Kizaru, because they're the only ones that are there. Now, the Gorosei, Saturn specifically, did strike Vegapunk, but so did Kizaru. I mean, he was the last one to attack Vegapunk after he's already wounded. So we see Saturn climbing up as the group with Nami sees Saturn, and what's also important to note is that Robin's in this area as well. We also see Brooke and Usopp run into action, but I actually thought it was interesting they decided to have Robin recognize that Saturn's voice from the O'Hara incident, so that was actually really cool. Whether or not that leads into anything, I don't know. Either way, Nami screams, protect Robin, as Saturn's about to attack. That's interesting because Zeus also blocks the attack, and so does Chopper, as Nami gets Robin away, so that was actually really cool. I also like the role that Nami's had ever since the Straws separated. Like, she's really been on point with getting down to business. So, obviously, like I said, the colour spread, even though it was a cover request, which had Robin on it, it may have been a fan request, but technically speaking, Robin does have the power to like move the chess pieces around, considering the knowledge she has and what she could learn on Elbaf. So, and yeah, I realize Saturn did try to attack Robin, but let's be real here, that's as far as it's going. Especially considering two things. Number one, in the last chapter, Edison went off. He has a plan to get the Strats to absolute safety. He said, I will get you to safety no matter what. That's number one. Number two, Oda decided to have certain characters absent in this chapter for a specific reason. Zoro, Jinbei, Luffy, and Dorian Bragi. They were absent in this chapter. I guess technically speaking, Jupiter's been absent for a while. So the Straw Hat's protecting Robin, that's great. And considering the fact that obviously Robin can't fight right now because considering she has wounds from a fight with York, I'm hoping like the anime will add what the manga hasn't, and that they'll add the fight possibly, because clearly they're nerfing Robin for a reason. Like, I don't understand. Like, so that's my hope, that the anime will fill in the huge battle that we did not get to see in the manga when it comes to York versus Robin, that left Robin in this condition. Speaking of York, we also see York, and she's freaking out because she's like, oh, I don't know what else to do, because if this keeps up, they won't let me be a celestial dragon. Even though the comments from the Gorosei towards the end of this chapter kind of like back up the fact they need York. In the previous chapter, and I mentioned this for a reason, York stated like, if I keep racking up my crimes, it'll be harder to hang around with you guys. And I thought that was kind of weird, and I'm going to give more exposition on this because York has the tagline or the name of greed. He's one of the 6 personalities of Vegapunk. So for someone with a tagline of greed, who literally states in this chapter that she wants to become a celestial dragon, That's a kind of weird comment for her to say in the previous chapter. So it's either she's having an internal breakdown mentally because she's like thinking, what should I do? And I feel like that's going to play a tremendous role here. So it would be kind of poetic if she does find a way to like thwart the goddess, because I feel like something's going to happen. Speaking of which, we see 3 of them having a conversation. So Mars brings up the point, perhaps we should destroy the power station. Sam blows that off and says, absolutely not. Because the equipment, the marine ships are not the only things we'll lose here. So they really need the power station. Then Top Man goes to say, we would also be sacrificing one of our only means of replicating the success with the Mother Flame. Obviously, York has the ability to replicate the Mother Flame, so that's right there, doubling down that they need York no matter what. So they're not going to be turning on her. So if I was York and you want to survive this, I would use that to my advantage. But we'll have to wait and see where that goes, because Oda's highlighting this from York for a reason. Like, there's no reason to have a panel of York having a breakdown of, oh, I'm not going to become a celestial dragon if I can't figure this out. But in the last chapter, it completely contradicts what she says here. So it's like, which is it? And I feel like Oda's doing that deliberately. We get to the reveal of what Oda's been hyping up for like months now when it comes to like Vegapunk and his truth. Granted, it's not all of it, but he goes on to say, I'll cut to the chase. Our world is going to sink into the ocean. And that's how the chapter ends. We also see a panel of Fishman Island with Shirahoshi commanding a Sea King. That is not a coincidence, because the moment I saw that, I immediately thought of the prediction of Madame Charlie from Fishman Island and what she said about Luffy potentially being the one to destroy Fishman Island. Now, that still has not happened, but that's not a coincidence that Oda decided to have the ending of this chapter, the final panel of this chapter, be about Fishman Island and Shirahoshi commanding a Sea King, considering that's going to tie itself up once Luffy reunites with Shirahoshi at some point. And this is what I said, perhaps this teases what goes into the final arc. I don't know. But you're not going to have that panel be about Fishman Island if it's not going to lead anywhere, especially at this point. This could be a consequence of numerous things that could play a factor here. One of them I just mentioned earlier, with Bonnie having the potential to and have the power to destroy a country, as hyped up by Nashjiro in the previous chapter. That's a possibility. Another possibility is the weapon, the Mother Flame, used by Emu, is going to be used again. But let's be real here, the after effects are still being felt even after the previous attack that wiped out the Lucia Kingdom. Yeah, but the fact that he says that our world is going to sink into the ocean, I don't know how he can know that, unless it's something he's already been told by somebody who's already seen the future. So you can make that what you will. Another factor to take in consideration here is not only is Edison got something in mind to help out the Straw Hats, not only can Luffy and Zoro and Jinbei do something to help out Robin and Nami's group, but also we have a giant mecha that's roaming around that's possibly going to make a move that referenced Joy Boy the last time we saw it. So that, and Oda's deliberately trying to like bypass that and not have him included, because that's what he left on before he had the break. So yeah, that's just certain things to think about here. There's going to be another attack by the Mother Flame. That could be what drives everything into the ocean, but from what we've seen right now, it seems very far-fetched and seems out of left field, unless we get another attack from the Mother Flame in this arc. Like, there's no reason to hype this up yet, especially coming from Vegapunk. If you're like teasing the fact that he's potentially going to die, the momentum swings back and forth, back and forth. So Vegapunk's obviously there's got to be more to this other than the fact that the world, the One Piece world, is going to sink into the ocean. Technically speaking, like being Fishman Island, that's already underwater, no duh. Then we got a submerged version of Wano underwater, with nothing, which we need to get a reveal about the ancient weapon Pluton, which we know is attached to Wano. That has to play a role at some point. Also, the borders of Wano need to be opened up because that was also teased. So that also has to play a role. But yeah, there's so many things coming out of this chapter. To note is this is only the first arc in the final saga. It's not like it's the final arc. So, but with all we've seen so far, you would think it is, but it's not. But let me know what you guys think down below. I thought it was an interesting chapter and an interesting cliffhanger, considering there's got to be more to the story. But yeah, I thought it was a really good chapter from Oda. There's a lot of juicy information that a lot of people are going to be theorizing for days, perhaps even months following this. But we'll see where this goes. Like I said, there's got to be more to the story as far as how is the world going to sink into the ocean, and how does Vegapunk know this? Like, and if he did know this, who did he find it from? Because I don't think he got this information by himself. So that's going to do it for today, guys. Thanks so much for watching. Like the review if you did. Thumbs up. I appreciate that. Subscribe to for more One Piece. Catch you guys later. Thanks, guys. Bye.